Okay, this is going to be a quick video about how to stamp a mandala or mandala in leather. I don't know if I've seen about how to do this since it seems fairly simple. There's a lot of old belt books and things like that with geometric designs that kind of lead toward this, but I haven't seen any like do it circular. Like I think if you look up stamping with the basics, there's a lot of sort of rosettes with veiners and things like that, but I haven't seen anything quite like this. They're a good decorative element if you're going to make a coaster. I've got, let's see if the focus will work. There we go. Yeah, try and shoot this straight into the camera, but there we go. So behold my fancy editing software. You can make something like that. Or something like that. Or even let's see, not like that. Something like that. Anywhere you have like a little circular space to fill, these are handy. I made a journal cover for my wife with an owl that's got these as eyes, so it's that kind of trippy looking owl. If you want to do a carved one, there's a lot of carved mandalas, especially it seems like purses in Brazil. This one, Tandy has the pattern on their site. It's like bridal keepsake bouquet. The ornaments are a little bit different than what they suggest, and I don't think they go out the edge with veiners. But right now, I'm just more or less kind of waiting for the leather to dry. But that's a couple of them. So it's still looking a skosh damp. If you're going to do this, you need something like a good strong element to start with in the center. This is a stamp from Tandy. Let's see. Don't think it's around anymore. 8655. It's discontinued, but you can probably find it on eBay. Another thing you're going to want to notice is this is a hexagon. It's six-sided, and these parts are more or less flat. That'll become important later when you're trying to put other stuff next to them. This is also a hexagon, and it's not going to focus in too much. But this is just a Craftool. Doesn't even have a number, but... And there's one like this. You could make your own if you want to. You know, you could carve one if you like. But I'm just trying to keep this simple for the sake of stamping. I used to use this for a lot of designs, and I don't so much anymore. Because I used to use it for something that would probably be a different video that's more like a cathedral window. And I started to use a flower center. You can use flower centers if you want to. You could even start out with a geometric. But let's see. Let's get started. So figure out which, this is probably going to go about in the center. If you've got one of those presses or something like that, might be a good place to put it. With the 3D stamps, I usually find I have to wail the hell on them to get them to work. And it's still coming out a little bit light, so like I said, wail the hell on them. You can get it to kind of fit back. There, that's a little bit better. I always find this thing looks a little bit blank in the middle, so you can fill it up. You can put a cedar in there. You can put a geometric. I like to use geos with this. And especially if you're going to be using this geo elsewhere in the design, that kind of just calls back to it. The thing about this is you can make a kind of a guideline for yourself or something like that. I'd encourage you to instead of eyeballing it, but... So there, you've got a geo in the center of it, and it seems to subdivide the petals a little bit more. But that's the basis for what you're going to do. You've got a hexagon that's got a bunch of flat sides, and you can add stuff to them any way you want. The thing I usually like to do is a border stamp that also has a flat side except on the bottom. This is a Craftool D606. If you've got older Craftools, they're a little bit crisper. If you've got some of those nice fancy craft or Berry King stuff that have the double layers of seeds, you could do it that way. Notice also that this border is about the same width as the side. Probably not quite cased as much as it could be. It seems to be a little dark. The burnishing effect isn't as good. And you can just kind of spin these around. Again, this is good for rounders, stuff like that. And I probably don't need to set them all down each time, but hey. You want to try and center it as much as possible. I might be skipping a little bit because I'm nervous. Hey. So there you've kind of got the first part of the mandala done. And usually what I do, let me grab one of my ones that I've done before as a guide. Usually what I do now is this little space between them you can fill up with sort of a star-shaped ornament. If you were doing, say, like a row of these in a line, there's a whole little pattern you can make that's just a row of these with these star-shaped geos or other star-shaped geos you might like between them. But what you do then is you pretty much take this one and put it like that. So you've got a kind of a line that goes from one part on the diagonal of this, it goes straight through to the end, and that radiates outward from it. You set it up like that. You try not to hit it unsquarely like I just did. And then you do the same thing. You can also kind of line it up so the lines are straight towards you, and that probably helps get it a little bit nicer. You could probably also do light guidelines if you'd like to. I think I've seen a circular template out there for making, concentric designs. And then once you get one of them where you're facing the next, that gives you another kind of visual reference to line up with. I'm not sure exactly how straight this is. It's close enough for the purposes of this. So there you've got, it's not quite clean on here. You can get away with like a little bigger design, like maybe this one, except the trouble with a stamp like this is it's not quite flat at the bottom, so it doesn't snuggle up on a straight border or like the line like I had it here. So if you got, like I said, flat bottom border stamp, this will do you too. It's what, D439. But after you get that kind of first row done, what are you going to do with the rest of it? You've got a space here you can join, so you're kind of going around making another circle. And in that case, you can join it with something circular or arch-shaped. I usually use a veiner. The one you see a lot is the 407 because it's got the extra scallops in there. But if you have a collection of veiners and you're like, okay, what looks good? I'll do the 407 just because I don't think I've done it with this for a while. My father was a boot and saddle maker, and so I got a lot of his tools. And then I started looking around at patterns and stuff like that. And the one I saw a lot of was the 437 because or 407, this one. It shows up in a lot of stuff, and you can use it in all kinds of different ways. You can, make a whole bunch of rows of it like brickwork. And kind of, the other thing about it with those extra scallops is it's got the big one in the middle that you can use to line your stuff up by, so you can kind of sight down it and go, okay, this is about like that. So that's the next row. And I don't think it's probably entirely perfect, and it's not entirely like this either. So the other thing you can do is you've got a circle here, a circle here. You can join it with another circular element, like a camouflage. Pick a camouflage you like, stick with it. So let's see. So in here, is it the right size? This one I think is probably a little bit too narrow. You want to look on the scallop right there in the cam. So I think I've got a choice here. This one looks decent. Yeah, it's not going to run against that thing. You could also, if you so desire, if you've got a cam that works better there than a veiner, you could go veiner then or cam then veiner. But that's just pretty much it, is moving the thing in circles, trying to keep straight on it. You will find as you do it that you go out of true a lot. And then so you've got another bunch of space, and you can find some way to bridge it. You could get a really big veiner like this one. This is an old McMullen. Except then, now what you've got, also since you're going veiner to veiner, it sort of looks like it's radiating outwards. But what you've got then is a little bit of blank space, and you can leave it there as you like, or you can fill it with some small decorative element. What I really like for stuff like this, and if you're trying to say a lot of what I do looks like, I want to say old Renaissance designs, but what I like for kind of old bookwork and things like that, or if you're doing a rosette, is cedars, because you've got dots you can put everywhere. You've got this little gadget you can put everywhere. If you've got one of those old tri-seed cedars that they use in hibiscus floral carving, you could do that. They don't make those anymore. Or if you want, you've got some decorative room to fill. This was a 3 geo set, so you had the small, medium, and large. This one seems to be a little bit sharper than its older brothers, and it's great for just little accents like that. So if you want, you could put it between the two like that, unless you think it'll make it too busy. Also, where is one? This one. You can also angle them in different ways. So in this case, instead of going with the big geo, I went with the small geo, and then you've got this one cocked at this angle, and then about 45 degrees to it or so, you've got this one, then you've got that one. And so it's a small element, but it is a geo, and they add up when you get them and kind of put them at different angles to each other. You can also, if you've got one of these geos, and if you've got a sunburst, the sunburst will snuggle into the arches of a geo like that. You can get away, actually, if you need like a four-sided thing, with just one of these geos and then 4 sunbursts into it. But those are just a couple ideas. You could fill this with cedars, you could fill it with dots, but I don't think I've seen anything sort of quite like this. Here's with that one craft tool, and then you can get some flower border tools in there, and again you've got those geos in there, and then some flower centers. and that figure carving tool, which also makes like a really kind of good lotus shape. Those I've seen a lot. And then the only other sunburst that Craftool and Tandy still sell is that one. And there, if you want to see the geos and those border tools, if they're used that way, that's how it is. But anyway, I doubt this is much of a video. I figured I'd try and crank one out, see what it looked like. Take care, y'all.